everybody and welcome. This is your takeaway teacher and today we're talking about verbs. Okay? Are verbs so difficult that we need a lesson about them? Well, they've got some types, some classes that might get a bit confusing. So today's class is to clear that confusion out. And we'll start with lexical verbs. This is the most usual, the most, so to say, normal type of verbs. These are verbs that name actions. Verbs you can imagine, verbs like swim, jump, play, study, go and work. These ones are normal verbs. They've got a complete meaning and they name actions. And you probably don't have any confusion about those. Those are the easiest ones. But there might be some confusion about the functional verbs. Why? Well, because they don't have a complete meaning. These verbs, they are just used to perform a grammatical function. So let's have a look at what functions those are and what verbs perform those different functions. So let's start with auxiliary, okay? There's only two types of auxiliary verb and an extra one which replaces these two. You'll see in a minute. What are the auxiliary verbs? The best way to remember and understand those is you need auxiliary verbs to make some complex verb tenses, okay? That's the best way to remember it, because when you think of I have spoken, I had done, I have been thinking, you are using those functional verbs. So these verbs, they have a function. Their function mainly is to build a more complex verb tense. So we use have for have done or have been, or we use be for am speaking, is speaking, were playing, are playing, yeah? Mainly for continuous verb tenses. And you can also combine them together and have a sentence like I have been thinking about you. Very romantic. So that's it to the auxiliaries, because when you don't have any of these two, you have a simple verb tense. And if you have a simple verb tense like present simple or past simple, and you need to make a question, you will use do or does or did to make that question, because you cannot move one of these verbs to the beginning of a sentence before the subject, okay? You just can't move these verbs anywhere you want. So to make a proper question or to make a negation, you need do if it's a simple verb tense. But if the verb tense is a complex verb tense, like present perfect, past perfect continuous, you will need to move the first, the one that's more to the left before the subject, okay? But also, you can have another type of verb in your sentence. All of these can go together except the do. It's either a combination of these or do, does, did, whatever. So, what's the other type? We've got this type called modal verbs, okay? And also, the number of modal verbs is very limited. You can only have these 9. Can, could, may, might, will, shall, would, should and must. Okay? And you can also have one of these modal verbs in combination with these and one of those. Okay? So, imagine a sentence like I should have been working. Okay? You're using should have been working. You're using 4 verbs to make one simple sentence with one simple action, which is to work. But you're giving it many different subtle modifications. So the meaning is slightly changed because you have all of these functional verbs to modify the meaning. I should have been working. You can combine those. But if you're combining the modals and the auxiliaries, you will not be able to use do. Do is only for simple tenses to make questions and negations in simple tenses. So far, this is your basic introduction to the functional and lexical verbs in English. Next, we should go to modal verbs and see how they work and what they do and what they don't do. Stay with me, go in modal.